up? This is BreakmanX, and welcome to the game show on May 21st, 2025. How's it going, Jack?
It's doing great. I am here. It is almost summer. Kids are almost done with school. Man, it is a great time of year.
Nice. And Logan, how are you doing this fine evening?
Yeah, dude, doing fantastic. Yeah, I've been enjoying some Minecraft lately. That server I mentioned last week is online and running, and everything's doing good.
Fabulous. And tonight we have AdamBlue, which is going to be a lot of fun. Before we get into that, though, the game show is a celebration of video games and our collective interests, mixed with a healthy dose of humor, while bringing in our favorite people in the game and movie industries on as guests. And we've got a great one tonight. AdamBlue is an IT security consultant and host of the Gundam Explained and BlueGamer YouTube channels. He also had a pretty cool interview, in the last week, if I do say so myself. was quite a bit of fun. So Adam, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, doing good. Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is a lot of fun. This is actually later than I'm usually up, but I prepared. I got a coffee ahead of time. But no, I'm happy to do this. Being on a gaming show like this.
Nice. No, coffee.
I chose beer, so oh well.
That's a good one.
Well, yeah, I had allergies, so the doctor gave me Sudafed, so I'm going to be flying high this evening because I do not do well with those sort of things. So here we go. Too much information tonight on the game show. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm sorry for it being a little bit late. We had a corruption issue there. I think I've got everything fixed, rebuilt all the scenes. But, find out tonight on the game show. Like always, if you'd like to participate, you can comment here below the video on our many different broadcast locations on YouTube, Facebook, and now TikTok. Holy moly. And also you go to BreakmanX.com, click on Discord, and you can join in the fun there. But AdamBlue,
Yeah.
how are you doing this evening? Are you doing well?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It was kind of a busy day because, I have some other channels I stream on, and a new game came out in the Gundam universe. It came out today, and so because it released right when I got off work, I did a quick stream just to kind of show it off. And then, streamed on the channel called Midnight Hatter on YouTube. It's a buddy of mine actually wearing a shirt. Kind of funny. It's another channel. Covers Gundam, tabletop gaming, stuff like that. And so I'm on his channel on Wednesdays, and then he's on mine on Thursdays. So that's how that works.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. So we can find you. You're very prolific. You're very prolific, which is nice.
That's cool.
I
have the other thing I do is the morning show. It's like BlueGamer mornings, just 30 minutes right before work, right after getting the youngest to school, right before work. For about 30 minutes, I taught gaming. And the main reason I did it was, it's something I've always wanted to do. In fact, you know what? I wonder if I should start from the beginning. Is there any, house cleaning or anything that has to happen?
Start in. Go for it.
No, but because it kind of starts with how we connected. Because, being on YouTube as a gamer, I saw the BreakmanX channel show up. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know this. And it unlocked a memory. That time, back in the early 2000s, when I was, first living on my own, wanting to talk about games online, gaming at that time, it's so great. It was like my identity. And yeah, BreakmanX was one of those where it was these, along with Penny Arcade, we mentioned, Evil Avatar. There was just this collection of these gaming websites back then that had these little micro communities talking about games. And and so I threw my hat in. I had my BlueGamer, and it actually never really took off or anything, but it's just always been fun. That's never mattered. In fact, it's even though it didn't take off, I've always made cool relationships, and even in the industry. So, so that's what's cool. So yeah, it was neat seeing BreakmanX pop up on YouTube, like 4 months ago or whatever, and that's kind of what sparked this whole thing. And but anyway, 2002 for podcasting, that's pretty wild,
Interesting you should mention that, because I put us on IMDb this week,
I saw
and
that.
I was adding us to IMDb, and IMDb was like, you were trying to put a podcast before the invention of podcasts on IMDb. So I think we might actually be the first. I mean, as far as I know, we're definitely like the first video game one. And if anyone else, if we're wrong on that, please let me know. I don't want to carry that crown if it's not ours. But
I think so.
And so I did trick it, though. I was able to put our first episode in there, September 28th, 2002. And it now does say 2002 on, and I'll gradually throughout the next millennium and all the episodes there, because it shouldn't say Jack Burton 2 episodes. Jack Burton's done a couple more episodes than 2 episodes.
Did a few more than that.
few more. Yeah. So I'll be adding those. But that's one of the things I was gonna start out with you actually. Is we obviously both go way back. Especially Jack as well, and then Logan is coming more recently, but also amazing. But going back into this really awesome period in like the early to mid 2000s, we kind of talked about on your show a little bit, but what was it about that period that really just drew you in and made you want to become a part of things like our site and Penny Arcade and all that?
Yeah, I think it was because gaming at that time had hit the mainstream, but it was still exclusive pockets, especially if you wanted to like get into talking about a Metroidvania, even though I don't think it was necessarily coined at that time, but those types of games, or if you wanted to talk about a shmup, still talk about classics, but even as they relate to modern games. I think there was a transition. There was then a lot of people coming in that were, wanting to get a PlayStation, get Madden, get Grand Theft Auto. And so what I think that did is I think that helped kind of spark the end of that original era of where it was kind of exclusive in a way. Because even when I was in elementary school, it just seemed like you wouldn't openly necessarily talk about video games. In fact, sometimes people would just come to me like later, like on the playground, or like call my house with the director and be like, "Hey, in Sonic, what's the code for level select?" And it would be someone I wouldn't even talk to at school. It was kind of weird how that. So yeah, during that time, and then I guess also, graduating high school, being on my own, having the internet, kind of finding myself, my identity, and using gaming culture to explore that, especially when we're able to find these communities online. Yeah,
that's awesome. It's such a period of time that's like obviously dear to our heart, but it was fun to find out that you're there as well. We'll probably come back to this type of thing a couple times throughout the night. But Jack, oh good,
I can. Yeah, I was just gonna say I can definitely relate. Like there were in grade school, middle school, like it was like I had maybe 2 friends that I could talk video. And then like everybody else was just like, I don't even think they know what these are. So I'm just gonna talk to my friends and that'd be it.
Yeah, no, I had back in the NES days, my friends that were neighbors, they were all big gamers. The folks at school, not really. But then early grade school, a lot of my friends were, it was really kind of in 4th or 5th grade where people started growing up. It seemed, and then that was the time at which it wasn't cool to like mention that you played games. I remember when I got a PlayStation, someone mentioned that I got a PlayStation at school. I was like, oh no, what's that? What PlayStation? I don't even know what that is.
That's wild.
Wow. Yeah,
because it was a scary time to be a gamer. It was not cool yet at all.
I feel like things were flipped by the time I was in like 5th grade.
Yeah.
Because like I didn't hear a lot of people talk about like the bigger consoles when I was in elementary school, but like in middle school it kind of blew up.
Well,
although I do remember like early games like Minecraft and like Angry Birds and Subway Surfer were like big in elementary school.
For me,
but
it transitioned back in 6th grade because then by 6th grade I just didn't care. I was like, I'm just gonna be me. Make fun of me for liking games and Star Wars. That's who I am. I'll ignite my lightsaber and cut your head off. So I was just kind of like whatever at that point. How about for you, Adam? Was it kind of was it an ebb and flow like it was for me, or how did that go?
Yeah, no, it seemed to be, getting it from, middle school to high school. There were people especially when Ocarina of Time came out, that was kind of like a big deal in a way, where it, but I guess that was still with more of the nerdy crowd in general. What the interesting turning point was, I think, was Halo and the Xbox, because that was that time period when, graduating high school, even, people in high school were talking about getting their Xboxes, going to do Halo LAN parties. It was like, that was another kind of turning point. And I think that kind of piggybacked off GoldenEye. I remember it was GoldenEye came out just, I want to say a week or so before my birthday, the year that came out. And I remember invited some friends over. We're doing the 4-player multiplayer. It's that that community aspect that kind of helped grow it into being, easier to talk about, I guess.
Yeah. I was in Wichita at the time when Halo really got big, and it was amazing. All these friends that I had working at a movie theater during the summer, like some of them gamed, but not a lot of them. And then all of a sudden, when I got back from college that year and I got an Xbox at home, every single night after we were done at work, it would be like 12 people and 3 other Xboxes coming to my house and just setting things up the entire evening. And we'd go to bed at like 10 a.m. and get ready and do it all again the next day. And I was just like, if this is happening in Wichita, like, it's got to be crazy everywhere else.
Yeah.
I kind of imagine when that happened, Jack, that like the planets aligned and some weird light came off the pyramids when it was like playing the Halo theme when you first played Halo at your house. That had to have been like a pretty big moment.
It was pretty awesome. It was very,
and I remember when I first got the Xbox, I rented Halo. I bought Dead or Alive 3 because that's more my thing, like the fighting games. It was like a Dreamcast 2.
It's a good system.
Yeah, but with Halo, I beat it. I remember rented it. I beat the game. I was like, it was all right. It just wasn't until the multiplayer, and then it was like, okay, there's actually something here. And I think that was one of the big things that kind of changed gaming a lot. But it was interesting. So Evil Avatar, once they started doing a podcast, this was around 2006. That's when then I got interested, and I had my Blue Live Journal since late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. Yeah. Transferred over to like, I don't know if it was Tripod or Blogspot, whatever.
Zynga.
And then, one of those. Yeah. And then, like maybe even MySpace as that was coming out. But then at the same time, it was easy to upload audio. So I started doing a podcast in 2006. And
nice.
I know. And so I considered myself a little bit, again, it was not at all, it really didn't have any reach or anything. And so it was like my brother would come over, we would just record something on Audacity, and then I'd upload it. And then
that's rad though.
And then over time learned about like getting Skype, and then you download this program with Skype that would record your calls, and then I'd edit that, and then I would do that off and on for a while. And then I think it was like 2010, I even did it at a radio show. Now I had to pay, but it was so I could use the facilities, have it broadcasted on their systems in their networks. And I even got call-ins because by paying, I was on a thing. But it wasn't like it was organic or natural growth, but it was fun to do this the whole time. And I think one interesting thing, though, through the years is I've never been able to find a consistent crew. And I see that's key here, I would have friends that wanted to talk games, but they weren't the type to want to have to sit, not everyone is interested in that, right? So it's always been hard for me to find that other...
I was just gonna, that's the thing that I really lucked into, because when we very first started doing it, I kind of talked Richie into doing it because it was like he didn't really want to do it, but I was pretty persistent, and I just thought it'd be fun. Honestly, I just wanted to talk about games. Like I've kind of mentioned before, I never thought anyone would listen to it. And then as we started getting significant amount of listeners on Shoutcast and things, and then on the forums, I was pretty shocked. And then of course meeting Jack. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the show before, but I met Jack my freshman year of college. He was sitting in the hallway of one of our big places, and he was playing the Game Boy Advance. And I was like, wow, like that dude must like games like as much as me if he's sitting on the floor playing Game Boy Advance, like GBA, like that's awesome.
Do you remember?
Yeah, Jack. What was? You broke Jack.
Oh no! If it was 2002, my internet is just going crazy.
It's all right. It's all right.
If it was 2002, I'm probably gonna say it was maybe Zelda. Probably not Four Swords Adventure yet, but maybe
Oracle.
Maybe one of the Super Mario Advance. Nah, it would have been GBA.
Actually,
Castlevania.
Actually, was it?
I might have been
was
playing
it
Circle
Super?
of the Moon.
Was it? Was it Ghouls and Ghosts?
Could have been.
I think that's what it was.
Have that.
I think that's what it was. If I mean, I could be wrong. It was like 1,000 years ago, but
yeah, no, I had that on.
I had it, and yeah, I know I had it, and because my
your internet is coming from 2002. But no, I remember seeing Jack playing on the floor, and I was like, wow, that dude. I was like, I want to be friends with that guy, because and then talking with him, I was like, wow, this is probably the first person I've met outside of Shadow that actually likes video games, and Richie too, as much as I do. And I wanted to get him on the show, but I honestly didn't think he'd want to do it. And then so when he finally did come on, and then was on for several years, that was awesome. Maul, who's sick tonight, he started around 2006, and he was on the show really up until I think 2011. And Richie was on it like 80 to 90% of the time. So we had a pretty consistent crew, and when people were involved, they were consistent. But this round, doing again, we've got really great folks. Everyone's helping. Logan and I work together on getting the new. If you've seen the new thumbnails, spicy, looking good there.
Those are fun.
Jack
looking great.
Helps a lot with the show planning, so it's really nice. Have a lot of the work spread apart. That helps too.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So as my kind of journey after doing the podcast, and I would, be off and on. Then that's when I started a family, and then that's when really priorities shifted. And so it was I wasn't doing stuff consistently. And then as we got into the routines, it's like that's when YouTube I started to notice was the thing. And so I started making YouTube videos. And they weren't bad. I thought they were pretty cool. I mean, it was more. Sorry, my cat.
Your cat likes them.
No, that's no problem.
No,
it's all right. This is the cat-friendly show.
Yeah, it was very cat-friendly. No, we're all about the cats.
Yeah.
She likes to dust my face with her tail sometimes, and it's like, okay, come on.
She wants to be part of the show too. That's fine.
No, but it was very interesting. Kind of that transition out to YouTube, seeing I was blogging a lot. That was my main thing. It was to the point to where even though I didn't have a lot of reach, that the reach that was there was enough to where companies were sending me. At that time, it was still physical a little bit and digital codes. And I was so there was that sort of representation, I guess. Okay, I'm at this point where I can, get. But what was happening is I noticed I was playing too many games just because I was given the code for it. And I think I burnt myself out. I was just making videos of I'm getting this. And then so I took a pause, and I was like, I want to make videos, but I don't know of what. And then something interesting happened because this interesting revelation came to me. And I'm curious what you guys think about this, because physical media, owning the physical video games, it was in the mid 2010, maybe about 2015, where there was this sort of, I could sell my video games and pay some bills, and we were trying to move into a house because I had a huge collection. But at the same time, it's and if I want to play a game, there's ways I can play these classic games usually. And I was really thinking about that for a while, because if I sold this whole this from ColecoVision up to modern, I had so much that and all that back there. Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, I never had everything out at once, and sometimes so I came to a revelation, just personal revelation for me was I was only keeping the stuff because it's the only way you could play. but it got to a point where I was able to get access them, and I realized, oh, it's not my collection I need. So I like sold it off, the whole thing, and then eventually got to this house. We're now not saying that paid for it, but yeah, I know it was a lot of stuff, but I've never regretted it.
That's awesome.
Here's the thing: I do collect stuff. I collect action figures. I have a lot of action figures, especially around Gundam. So it's not that I'm not a collecting type. It's just it was funny to have that realization that it wasn't the video games that I wanted. It was just I wanted access to a game.
Yeah.
So I have. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, when I moved to Los Angeles, I kind of put everything into storage and relied on emulation a lot. And during that period especially, I mean, really, Halo 2 was the first game we got sent. And then after that, and it really started to pick up, late 2005, I think. And then when we did Padinga, which was kind of the second iteration, we started getting a lot of, I still have the Da Vinci Code game still in its wrapping that we got. I never played that one. But anyway, I packed up when I moved to LA. I packed up all my stuff into storage and just figured I could rely on emulation for everything. That was older, and it was nice. But then when I moved back here and I unpacked everything, I kind of remembered. I mean, all my NES games are the NES games that I got when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Like I still have the same exact games going back forever. I've never really sold some things throughout the years, just stuff I didn't have an emotional connection to that I'd acquired later. But all the original stuff that I got in childhood, all my consoles, all of that stuff I still have. And there's a connection there for me. Like I just sitting down and using the same controller that I used to play Super Mario World for the first time, and the same console, thanks to Voltar for fixing it. But it's pretty. There's something about that to me that I know. Like I'm a sentimental person. Like that stuff just hits me hard. I know it doesn't hit everyone the same, but for me, that's like awesome.
I'm with you there. And for me, a lot of times it's less. The hardware thing makes perfect sense, and a lot of times for me, it's specific games. Like I think Quackshot on the Sega Genesis is a good that time frame. That time frame, the joy of playing something like that at that time where it looked really good for what it was, and it was like, oh, Indiana Jones, but like that joy, is always really awesome.
Sure.
Yeah. So going a little forward too. So the selling the video. Yeah, right before that, I had the NEC XM29. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. That was like the sought after CRT for doing the 240p, like the correct scaling and all that. Yeah. There was someone. I'm in the Dallas Fort Worth area. There was someone in Houston that had two, and I had a buddy I work with that was visiting from Houston. And I was like, dude, can you just stop by and pick these up, please? And it was one for another friend of mine. And
that's glorious.
Yeah, and then I got the SCART connectors, for all my consoles. I had the whole, and so I think that's maybe another layer to why I was able to have this release, because I went through that whole thing where I was trying to get the pixel perfect, whatever geometry, on the CRT.
That's a pain.
Yeah, that stuff was fun. And what happened
going into
was
the service menu.
I know, and depending on which TV, like how do you figure out how to? And then there was this time, and this kind of kicked off the idea of selling everything. Was because I was posting videos about this, I did have somewhat of an audience, and some guy reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, I'll come." He was like in Chicago or somewhere. He's like, "I'll drive down $1,500 and get that TV from you."
Wow!
And I was like, "All right."
That's amazing.
I paid $4 for it.
Good for you.
Was, really good deal. And so
nice
I was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm glad I played in that area of using, SCART cables, trying to get the actual pixel perfect. That was a lot of fun, and I enjoy that. And I know there's other ways to do that.
Well, I was big into CRTs for a while. I got the first one I got was the Sharp one. I thought I was gonna die getting it because I drove literally out into the middle of nowhere I live in Kansas, and I'd never heard of this town before, and it was just a guy like in a farm, and I pull up, and I told my wife, I'm like, if you don't hear from me in like 15 minutes, like maybe call the cops, because like I went in there and it's just this guy, and I go in and he's like, it's in the basement, so I'm thinking, okay. Look for chainsaws, and we're going downstairs, and he's like, it's in the storage room, and I'm like, oh God, like am I gonna die tonight for this CRT? So I'm like looking around, and we go down there, and like luckily it was just a CRT. He was super nice. He helped me carry it to the car, and I'm obviously here, but like there was a 5-minute period there where I was like risking my life, and then I got the fabled Sony whatever 310 FV 310 just randomly from this guy in Wamego, Kansas that had one that I found, and he came, and like I had to take the hinges off the door to get it in, and but then once I got the RetroTink 4K, I just didn't feel the need to have the CRTs anymore, because I had them side by side, and I had them on at the same time, and I'm like, like all the work I would do getting the CRT to look perfect, the RetroTink 4K already looks like exactly what I want this to look like, and this is going to go bad in a few years. So that is something I did get rid of, and I haven't regretted it, because the RetroTink Mike Chi is glorious.
There's a lot of cool new tech that can help with one emulate, like the FPGA stuff is
the Mister
awesome
is,
also,
and
like
the analog stuff too.
Yeah, I know all that stuff. It's really cool. And to be honest, when I've gone back to play, I like to go back and play retro games a lot. And I'm always like, I'm really big about using, when using the emulator, having retro achievements plugged in.
I love retro achievements.
Yeah, I love tracking that stuff, and it's really less about getting an achievement. It's more about, I like to track my progress, look back, and be like, here's the journey I was on.
Here's the day when I did this thing.
Yeah,
that's what. And I wish that you could somehow hook that up with like real. You could do it beyond the emulator. I wish they'd add it to Mister, or they'd add it to something I can play on a TV that's not on the computer. I don't know how they would do it, to be honest with you, but that would be pretty spiffy.
Yeah, that stuff is great for some reason. Yeah, the logging your gameplay.
But Jack, when to hit you up with your first topic of the evening, sir.
Yeah, no problem. So, Adam, I know you're typically streaming games that you're playing, and you mentioned the Gundam game that you just got today. What other games are you playing right now?
Oh, what am I playing right now? Man, I am playing a lot. So I will bring up the first big one. Doom, Dark Ages.
Yeah. I was talking pre-show.
Kill the demons.
I am in the unlucky percentage of folks that are getting hit by this 4090 bug or 4080 bug. I'm using the Game Pass version, so I'm going through the Xbox store, and I get the audio when it starts up, but no video. And I've tried all of the methods they've got to try to fix it, and all of them revolve around the Steam version. There is no current fix for the Xbox store version, so I am basically stuck until they get that thing patched.
Wait, so you haven't been able to play it?
I have not been able to play it. Although, to be fair, I haven't taken the time to download it on the Xbox Series X yet, because I want to play it on PC.
But hey, that's that convenience. That's what I like about Microsoft. Yeah. They have that option. You want to use it. Yeah.
But how is it? How is it? Because I'm really excited to play it.
So I think it's really good. Actually, I think it's really, really good. But I do think it gets a little boring.
Okay.
But like, I feel like it's a good mainstream first-person shooter that doesn't exist. And it was a success for them, and I think it's good. It is very creative. It has really cool art direction. The way they do the first-person controls, it's a lot more crazier than what you would think of classic Doom. Obviously, it's evolved over time.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is interesting. I love how fun they've added gimmicks that I think other game developers could integrate, especially when it comes to first-person combat. Which id should be good for or known for.
Yeah. How is the shield combat?
I really like it. It's just fun because what to me it reminds me of a lot of even like a hero shooter where you just have a selection of powers you can use and there's cooldowns. And the shield is just one of those things. It's and it's fun. It's been a while that I've decided to just completely play mouse and keyboard, but Doom just seemed like that one, and it is a lot of fun.
That's one of those you want to play old school mouse.
That's just one that's almost sacrilegious to play with a controller.
Yeah,
the demon's gonna come out and get you.
It's interesting. There's a sequence where you're flying a dragon. It's like one of the main levels. I had to get a controller for that because it feels like the game is made for the gamepad, but you can get away with mouse and keyboard.
Gotcha.
So
did you play Doom Eternal at all? How is it compared to Doom Eternal? Because the platforming in that one got really old really quick.
I didn't like Doom Eternal. In fact, I forced my way to beat it. It was funny. One day I was like, I never beat this. Let me load it up. And I was at the last boss. I was like, oh, okay. I'll just beat it. And
pleasant surprise.
I mean, I like Doom 2015 or 2016. But I liked that.
Yeah. Have the 6 in there with Doom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there you go. But Eternal just seemed to not do much more, I guess. And they kind of the platform, and it was like I don't know. And that's what the thing is. I think they are trying to make it mainstream because I think Doom 3. Like when it first came out and it did the flashlight thing where it was separate and people didn't like that. I think Doom, they were always trying to be more leaning to be harder or, but I think over time, and they're with Bethesda, which is now under Microsoft, they turned that brand into a mainstream IP. And you know what? Maybe that is a good idea over time, give it a fresh coat of paint. So,
but it's more like 2016 than it is Eternal, right?
From what I hear, yeah.
Okay. I was the same way. When I play Doom, I just want to run around and shoot things. Like I don't. Yeah. Going back to the original Doom 2. Like I want I want a boomer shooter. That's what I want.
Yeah. You want to rip and tear.
Did you guys play Bolt Gun?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. To add that, I was talking about that Gundam game that came out today, and I was streaming it on the Gundam Explained channel. So what it is it's a Japanese-only Vita game that came out in 2011 or 2012. And I guess right now, this franchise, Gundam Seed, was kind of popular, had a movie. And so what they did was they just remastered, basically Unreal Engined, an old Vita game. So for me, there's a lot of interesting things going on here. One, it's getting a Vita-style game from 2011, 2012. How's the gameplay? And it has sort of that 360-era third-person action combat, but I guess just the time frame it came out, it has enough cool stuff to it to make it still almost feel like you're in a robot, but it's fast-paced action. And it's $40. So, again, it's a Vita remastered in Unreal Engine for only Switch and PC. It's a very interesting thing going on, but
it's an interesting combo.
And what is the title?
It's called Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Battle Destiny Remastered.
Whoa, that is a lot of words.
It is a lot of words. These Gundam games, they are typically well-made games. Yeah, they're just lower budget games. They're really there to keep the Gundam brand top of mind. I think it would be worth because they're actually making a Gundam live action movie. Legendary is working on it right now.
I hadn't heard that.
They could play Gundam that way in the US, but they just. So I got into Gundam. I guess that's the other thing too, other than the gaming is. The reason I was doing the Gundam channel was because as that filmmaking bug I had, I was like, I need to do something where I'm using those muscles, but I don't know what. And I had just recently gotten to Gundam, not realizing it was a franchise from 1979. I missed that whole Toonami thing. I think I was just a little too old, maybe, for the Gundam Wing on Toonami. I don't know, because I didn't have that experience, but I learned what Gundam, like from the original, it's very interesting. It's like Star Wars, but more mature. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Oh, stop it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. I remember you said you were. I am a huge Star Wars fan. And,
no, I'm totally kidding.
And what this does is, like, this is the example I give for the original Gundam. It's like there's that scene in Star Wars where Luke blows up the Death Star. And then they're celebrating. Well, in Gundam, the main character, Amuro, kills someone in another mobile suit, a cockpit, with the beam rifle, and he's freaking out about that he killed someone. Like, they focus on that, and you might think, oh, what's the big deal? But it actually does a really good job of building these characters in this world where people are in mobile suits, contrasting to Star Wars, a world where people, have Force, which is actually something that's in Gundam as well. That's a whole other.
I'm gonna have to check this out.
Anyway, I got into this world. I'm like, I like this. Star Wars, George Lucas and Star Wars got me into filmmaking to a degree. Gundam is reigniting that. I'm going to write out a treatment for a Gundam live action movie. And then as I'm doing it, they announce that they're going to make a Gundam live action movie. And I was like, you know what I need to do then? I will make a YouTube channel about Gundam. And so that I can learn about the lore, share about the excitement, just because I think it's cool and no one really talks about it. So that was like this initiative, and I started it in 2021. 2021, and it's at right under 12,000 subscribers, and I think that's amazing. Like, I can't believe I've done that, but it's because I found a niche. But even though I'm playing in this niche, I'm doing it very broadly, so I don't think my content grows as much as it could. And I find that similar with how I'm treating BlueGamer. I do my morning 30-minute live stream. Being on for only 30 minutes doesn't help. I would need to be on longer if I really want to work the algorithm. But a lot of it is just me doing my own gaming journaling. So
that makes sense.
Long way to say I'm using Gundam explained, BlueGamer. These are ways to talk filmmaking or use that filmmaking muscle and talk gaming.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know you guys filmmaking as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, we're all into filmmaking for sure.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to hear about you getting into Gundam, because I've never gotten into Gundam. I've always liked the games though. I've always liked the style, the flash, the panache, if you will, of the games. I actually really like. There's a SNES shooter shmup. That's a Gundam shmup, and it's one of my favorite shmups on the SNES. I never remember the name. Let me look it up. But it's on the there's a couple shmups on the SNES.
Yeah, I want to say it's like SD. There's this like where they're like super deformed, the pixels because it's like called SD Gundam. Yeah, they're pretty fun. They're like side-scrolling shooters.
I have one of those on the original Game Boy. I think I picked it up at Maul's store back when I was in Lawrence.
Yeah, that's another one. Well, did you guys ever play the game on Dreamcast called Rise from the Ashes 0079?
I did not play that one.
Okay.
I saw it a lot, but I never actually picked it up.
Because I didn't know it was Gundam. When it came out on Dreamcast, I was like, whoa, mechs. I'm going to get this. And I loved it. Dreamcast has a lot of games I played through, deleted the memory card, played through again. That was one of them. And it wasn't until a few years ago finding out that was a Gundam game. Because there's something else I didn't realize. Gundam has all these universes. And some aren't interesting, and I don't really care, but some are very unique in like Star Wars. And that's where that kind of aspect comes out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Any other things you're playing lately?
Oh yeah, back to that. Because I played a lot.
This is a great discussion, by the way. I just want to say it's nice. I can tell you've had a lot of podcast experience, because this is such like an easy conversation to have. Like whenever we can just kind of have a natural conversation that kind of ebbs and flows is a lot of fun. So
yeah, I love it, and I get excited a lot. And sometimes it's like I have to. Okay, someone else needs to be able to speak. Adam. I guess
why you're here.
It's therapeutic. Yeah.
I mean, I could always mute you, which I won't.
That's true.
I've only muted one person my entire time.
Oh wow! What was that? What, a little argument?
Oh, he was another host, and it was a whole thing.
Oh, wow. Well, to add, there's this game that recently came out called Kyborg, Kiborg. It's on Steam right now. It's a third-person action game, combat heavy, like think Devil May Cry, God of War. But it's a roguelike, and lately I've been kind of turned off by that because it's like, well, I kind of want a structured sort of journey that I'm on instead of just kind of randomly playing to play. But the combat is so fun. I'm just enjoying it because after each run, you do get a lot of upgrades. It really does make you feel like, oh, I'm going to be playing differently next time around. So that's Kyborg. The Precinct. Have you guys heard of this
talk
one?
about that one because I've seen some stuff here and there about it, but I haven't really dug into it a whole bunch.
Very fun, isometric. It brings me back to the old Grand Theft Auto games when they first came out on PC. You know, they were kind of top down, and it's interesting because it's like a sandbox of being a police officer, and so there's rules in the sandbox, and part of the rules are you as a police officer, like if someone's speeding, you do pull them over, you do have to check their ID and all that stuff. But it happens while you can accidentally ram into 8 different cars, go flying off the freeway. Like it's able to really blend simulation of being a cop and upholding standards. But while the game world allows this flexibility that wouldn't really happen, but it just allows then that to be fun.
Okay, cool.
And for the price, I think it's worth checking out for something different.
Gotcha. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it mentioned on a few different podcasts, and I need to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, there's another one. This is a game you guys might be interested in. It's called Soul Cresta. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw
Sounds
you. Actually,
familiar.
I watched you
Okay.
play this on
Okay,
YouTube
cool.
a bit. Yuzo Koshiro is the composer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
So
all right.
what's really cool about it is, this is a platinum game, for Platinum Games. It came out in 2022, and I remember when they announced it, and I'm like, oh, Platinum's making a shooter. But then I saw $40, and I was like, well, I mean, for a shooter. And I feel bad that I skipped it because it really feels like a $40 game for being a shmup. There's a lot, even though I don't pay attention to story, there's a lot to like the story mode that you could play. It's interesting how as you're collecting upgrades as you go, there's like an upgrade meter to the right of the screen that is constantly filling up, which is a genius idea, a shmup where you're constantly getting upgrades instead of just the 1 or 2 throughout the level or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I really recommend this game. I feel like I would almost say it's one of my favorite shmups I've ever played, and that's saying a lot.
Oh wow!
I'm really
I love
and it
shmups.
Oh, you like them too?
Oh, I love shmups.
Yeah. I think we talked about that in Discord.
Did you play? Did you play it on PC? I saw you streaming it, but I couldn't tell what.
Yeah, it was on PC. Yeah. And I think it's on other platforms, but there's been actually a good trickle of shmups to like still come out. There was one earlier this year called BreakmanX. If I'm saying that right. Yeah, BreakmanX, VARYZNEX. If anyone's interested. That shmup came out in January. Pretty fun. And it's cool because game developers can come out with these games and priced very reasonably, and they can still be successful. And I think that's really cool. It's like you don't have to always make a $50 game or something.
$80
or a $90 game.
I know. Especially with like the play 5 days early bonus special edition. That's
or get it 3 days early edition.
Yeah. And that's about all I've been playing. What about you guys?
Let's see. Can I start? I'll
Final Fantasy.
Man. Yeah, Final Fantasy 16. I'm still plugging my way through that. I think I'm like 3/4 of the way through. I don't know if anybody watched last night, but man, like I'm in a slog right now. It was like, I think it was 2 hours of gameplay, and I think about an hour and a half of it was all lore and cutscenes. So I got about a half an hour gameplay in there, and it was mostly side quests. So I'm slowly making my way through that. But then I'm also playing. Thank Goodness You're Here. which is a fun little point and click adventure game. It's really funny.
Okay.
And playing, I got done playing something this weekend that I can't talk about.
That's cool.
But that, and then
We could talk about Halo 7.
yeah. Now, but I will say I'm really looking forward to FBC Firebreak. I think that game looks really rad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been playing lately.
Okay. Well, for me, lately it's been, as I kind of mentioned briefly at the beginning, I just started up like a Minecraft server that's based around like the concept of just evolving through all the old versions because they're all just freely accessible.
Is it a LAN server or is it can others?
I've got like a old PC in my basement. It's like an Optiplex, just running. I've got like a modded server and
you should put the info in the Discord.
It is private at the moment. We've got like a very specific group of people.
Oh, I see. It's like a country club.
I don't think I could
Special access.
Yeah, I don't think I have the
Exclusive.
bandwidth to just make it like a really public server at the moment. I could look into maybe trying to launch one.
No,
for,
it's
the
fine.
game show.
It's fine.
But yeah, we're starting in like beta, where there's not even like sprint, and just evolving as we complete various goals related to the updates stuff, which is fun.
It's a neat concept.
Yeah,
That's cool.
we did it like once before back during like the pandemic, and it was really successful. But there's been a lot of updates since then, so we're gonna be able to go a lot farther this time. And otherwise, playing some Forza lately.
Oh, nice.
Just getting back into Forza Horizon.
Speed.
Yeah. And then tonight I literally just picked up Pac-Man Championship Edition DX.
Oh, yes.
So-
Okay. I'm excited to see what you think of that because I know you like the old arcade games. And
yeah,
that's gonna be
I've
fun.
got like an old arcade.
Did
in
you
my
ever
basement,
play
actually.
1943 Kai on PC Engine TurboGrafx?
No.
You should try it out.
Okay.
Because I know you like the arcade.
Yeah, I like the arcade version of 1943.
It's kind
Battle of Midway.
I like the console versions from that era a lot of times a little bit more because even if the graphics aren't quite as good, it's rebalanced for home and not meant to just eat your quarters.
Yeah.
No,
So-
that is a thing with the arcade one, but like my arcade in the basement that I play the arcade version on, running off of RetroPie. So I've got a button that just adds quarters, so
there you go.
It's one of those ones that allows you to re-up. So I kind of just do that.
I just love the PC Engine version of like a lot of those games.
I say,
yeah, I'll
isn't-
need to check it out.
Isn't Kai, at least on on the PC Engine, isn't that the one that actually once you beat the arcade game and has like some wacky stages after
Yeah.
that?
Yes,
that'd be
it does. It's
Yeah.
cool.
I need to play
I think
that.
you should check it out. I think you would like it.
Yeah. And this
And
looks
I just like when people play the PC Engine.
well, it's got like a different subtitle, so I bet there's even just some different content in there, like these extra levels you're mentioning, or whatever. So
Yeah.
I'll
No, I
definitely check it
think
out.
you would enjoy it. Play it. Let me know what you think.
Yeah.
I've been playing a game called Grading the last couple weeks where I've been assigning random letters to people's work. But no, besides that, I've actually mentioned the NSO controllers, like the Nintendo NSO controllers. They have like NES, SNES, N64. And for a bit, I was like, they're Bluetooth, whatever. I have to say, those controllers are freaking amazing. Like, I don't know, you probably haven't held like a brand new SNES, NES, N64 controller for a very long time, but like it's amazing how much better, or maybe they're just the ones they're making now are way better, but they feel so much better. I've been playing, I mentioned before, I was playing Ocarina of Time. I've been doing that with the N64 NSO controller.
Nice.
And it feels so good. So good. And there's the lag is really low, lower than I thought it would be. Same with the SNES one. It plays so freaking solid.
I got that one. With the SNES, I love it. They added like just a little bit more thickness in the back end of it, where it just
more
feels a lot more
substantial.
solid. I love it.
It does. It feels more, and like all the new stuff, because I still have my SNES controllers and my ASCII pad that I've had since like second or third grade, which I love. But the only problem with it is, I was talking about this with Bob yesterday, but the start button is starting to fade a little bit, like, and it makes it like I have to like really, really like kick its ass to like get the game to start sometimes, and so that's getting like a little frustrating. But apparently some people are going to be making some replacement membranes for that pretty soon, so I'll be able to fix it. But anyway, playing it with the NSO pad. So I've been playing, obviously I mentioned Ocarina of Time, but on the SNES I've just been going through a litany of games. Whenever there's like, I love controllers in general. Like I collect controllers, and so I've been running through games just to see what if it plays well. Like, you know, Contra, see, you know, the if I can duck and all that, which definitely you can. And then I was playing a lot of Super Mario World, actually, which
nice.
It's actually been a while since I've played through. I used to play through it pretty frequently, but I haven't played through it in a while, and that was a really good test because there's that's you have a lot of quick movements, and if there was lag in it, you would kind of notice it. So and of course, again, I have to plug the Voltar edge enhancer, makes it look just glorious. So thanks, Voltar, who, by the way, I mentioned it yesterday with Bob, but Voltar is, from what I understand, in the hospital again. With another similar related heart issue. So, obviously he was on the show here several months ago, but just a really awesome dude, has contributed a lot to the gaming community. So my thoughts are definitely with him. So didn't mean to get it all serious, but wanted to make sure I mentioned that. But no, playing a lot of games, just going through those controllers. I finally played a little bit. I played a little bit more Rebirth, which obviously Final Fantasy VII is amazing. So diving back into that's been a lot of fun. But hoping to play some Doom this week. I want to play some of that. And then Final Fantasy 16 I got because of Jack's recommendation. So
like I said, just be prepared at some point just to plow through and forget the side quest stuff.
Oh yeah, I used to, when I used to play the Final Fantasy games, I used to like want to do everything because, like I mentioned, I would be worried that I wouldn't do a side quest and then I wouldn't have the thing to beat the boss, and then you'd be just totally hosed. But the modern ones are much less like that. Like really 10 on, maybe even 9 on. Like you could kind of get, actually 8, I would say too. You can kind of get through it without necessarily needing to have absolutely every single thing, whereas before that, you can really get hosed in those games. Like on Final Fantasy VII, if you didn't have the ribbons, you were just totally screwed. I mean, and imagine a ribbon being like the thing that saved you, but a ribbon protects against all the status things. You got to wear your little ribbon to prevent Sephiroth from just poisoning, sleeping, and darknessing you to death. But
in Bloodborne, you need an umbilical cord for a certain ending.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, right? It doesn't, but that's actually one of the things I like about video games, though. Like, you'll get just stuff, and it's like what the hell? Like, what was it? Like Shin Megami 10, you get like the Book of Thoth, like the mystical Egyptian thing that probably doesn't even exist. Like, there's just cool stuff like that you just like get. And I love when video games like dip their toes into like kind of esoteric, interesting things. Like, like an umbilical cord. Like, and imagine that development meeting. Like, to get the best ending, they're going to need to get an umbilical cord.
That was a great game. That game helped me get into Souls games.
Jack is a fan.
I can believe that. Yeah, I'm a huge Bloodborne fan.
Cool. Yeah, it was. I just remember the feeling of my heart racing on like the cleric beast, for instance. And then once you clear that, and you're like, okay, it's clicking. Like the whole idea of the rewarding feeling. And then I went through all the Souls games. I keep up, Night Rain.
That's out in a few weeks.
That new one, which, to be honest, because it's multiplayer, I'll probably only play if like I'm hearing good things.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm taking a wait and see attitude with that one.
Because it's kind of the same with that Switch 2 game announcement I forgot. It's like a Bloodborne-like. It's same thing where, wow, that looks like something I'd want to play, but it's multiplayer.
Yeah.
Did you get a Switch 2 invite or pre-order or?
No, I waited. I did get the email from Nintendo today about standing by for something, but I got the standby. Okay. I originally tried with Best Buy. I was in the line, but I forget what time it was. Maybe it was by midnight, and I was still in the line. I was like, I don't know what it is. It's like I almost don't want to go as far as I would when I was younger, but I really want to play Mario Kart World. And then be prepared for the Donkey Kong game.
I want to play Mario Kart World, and then I also want to play the Switch 1 games that I've been waiting to play with hopefully like slightly better performance. That's actually what I'm most excited for, to be honest with you. But I tried the night of. Jack snuck in and beat me over the head and took mine. No, actually, Jack tried really hard to help me get one online. He was sending me links all evening, and I just waited in line and didn't get one. And then when Nintendo did their presentation, I literally right after it did the registration thing, like literally within minutes of it. And I still have not gotten. And I know people that have there are people that have registered like way after it that have gotten emails. So even though it said first come first served, people are like, it's a lottery. No, it said first come first served, which means in order, first come first served. But yeah, I've not gotten my my invite. I did get that email a few days ago that's like, hey, so just letting you know, you're still in line. Sometime before the day you die, you might get an invite. No, I'm planning to. If I get an Nintendo invite, great. If not, they did say that they're gonna have extra stock at Best Buy. So I did pre-order a Pro controller there. So BreakmanX and I are gonna head down there on launch evening. It'll be his first console launch anyway, which will be
midnight.
Fun.
Yeah. I like console launches. I like midnight launches in general.
I love that stuff. And
it's just fun.
It's funny because I had mentioned to my wife, you know, because she'd asked, so did you end up getting the Switch 2? I was like, no, but I guess Best Buy might have some. There's a midnight launch. She's like,
and GameStop too.
Oh, GameStop too. And I was like, do I really want to go? And it's like, yeah, kind of do.
You do.
She's down.
Go grab it. Bring it home, set it up on the Wi-Fi, let it download all the patches, go to sleep.
Yeah, that's right. Because I need to prepare it as soon as possible.
Well, what's interesting, I'm a huge Nintendo fan. It's been written in the record of life going back quite a while. I actually, at first, wasn't too excited about the Switch 2. I wasn't planning to get it at launch. And then, I was really realizing there's a lot of Switch 1 games that I've been kind of waiting to play with better, like Link's Awakening. I mean, there's a lot of games that even Super Mario Wonder, which runs really well on the Switch 1, I've just been kind of waiting to play more of it on the Switch 2. So, Mario World, Mario Kart World, our family's a huge Mario Kart, I'm sure y'all's are too, but we, like my wife and the kids, and we all love playing Mario Kart together. So having a new Mario Kart is going to be pretty rad. And I imagine for our youngest, she's going to really like the just you can drive anywhere thing.
That is cool. Yeah. That's a good idea.
So
that's what I like about it. I love the open world thing. Like sometimes it's like if you throw open world on something, does it work all the time? I don't know, but I think Nintendo can make it work.
Yeah.
Nintendo can do anything.
Just because, I love the Forza Horizon series, just because of the open world. You've got the combo of racing and open world maps, so I think it could work very well.
I just wanted to welcome all the new TikTok viewers that we've got watching us. It's been kind of fun to check that out. We haven't been on TikTok before, but we will plan on continue to do that. If you want to write into the show, again, no matter what platform you're on, you can just write a message there, and Logan will keep up with those. And then also on BreakmanX.com, you can click Discord and join us there. So love the interaction. This has been a really fun conversation so far, and it's going to get even more fun. So
nice. I know. Have you guys seen the details for all the Switch 1 improvements coming to the Switch 2? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
I
pretty
was just
stoked.
like, I'm a little disappointed that Link's Awakening isn't getting a frame rate improvement because it should.
John Linneman, who we should be having here pretty soon, but he was writing about how he said that it will, with the way, because he's obviously super amazingly great at all this analysis. He said it would actually be more difficult for the way that the emulation's working, since it's a translation layer, etc. It would actually be more difficult for them to get it to run at the same frame rate it runs on Switch 1 than allowing it to run much better. So, according to him, every game should pretty much be running much, much better unless they put in a significant amount of work to keep it where it is at Switch 1. Yeah. So Link's Awakening should... Yeah, he was really arguing with some people that were like, oh, it's not going to do anything better. But no, it's not really arguing. He was like politely putting his opinion. I don't want to make it out to something it wasn't. So Link's Awakening should run better. Everything should theoretically run better. So
the only reason I can see them wanting to like lock a frame rate down is if like gameplay was relying on like frame timing or something.
Yeah. That's why they keep the N64 NSO stuff running at 2 frames a second, because apparently seriously, because apparently Ocarina of Time and some of those games rely on horrific frame rates. They but the decomps, they need to just steal the decomp, because the decomp is able to utilize 144 frames a second and not cause any issues. But they just need to steal. It's their work in the beginning anyway. Just pay the decompers.
Interesting. Yeah, these like recompiled.
I love it. I mean, Nintendo, send me an invite. I hate it. God, why would anyone do that? It's awful. Stop it.
No, but it's this interesting sort of, there's so many ways to play these older games. If you think about emulation through software, FPGA, and then just straight up like just running it off anything. I think this is cool stuff, because Ridge Racer, or no, not Ridge Racer. San Francisco Rush, the arcade games, those were recently made. To just play.
Did anyone on San Francisco Rush for the N64 do the tag mode? You could play a game of tag, like Tag You're It.
I might have. I don't remember. But
there was like a code that you could enter. And
I may have on 2049, but not San Francisco Rush.
The original, I guess it was probably on both of them, but on the original, my friends and I would love to, like, one person would get a head start, and you literally just have to, it's like free roam, and then you'd run into the other person with the car to tag them.
That's cool.
It was so much fun. Like, it made that game. That that would be really cool on Forza. We played that way more than any of the real modes. Real modes. That should have been. They shouldn't have put that behind like a code, because that was so much fun to just drive.
That'd be a fun battle mode in the new Mario Kart. Just open world tag.
Yeah. Nintendo. Miyamoto, I love the amusement parks, but send me an invite.
So you can go catch him down in Florida right now, I think.
Yeah, no, there's lots of pictures of him. I actually really want to go to Super Nintendo World.
I
think we're going to go.
That's pretty cool.
Next year.
They're building one north of me, not too far.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Texas.
Really? Yeah. I was surprised. They don't do many things here in general.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like it would be a central hub, but it's more business, I think.
Is Universal just putting a whole amusement park down there?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if it's a whole thing or if it's just the Nintendo. I wonder. Because north of where I am, like north of the DFW airport, Metroplex main area, it's like expanding suburbs and businesses are buying land and.
So my day job, we had an office up in Plano, and like where that area is just has exploded over the last 5-10 years. Yeah,
I think that's where it's going to be at. That right about
awesome.
it.
Universal's like improved dramatically. When at least the one in LA. Like when I lived there, during the time I lived there, like when I first moved there, I like wasn't super impressed by it, but then. the longer I lived there, the better it got. And then actually when I moved away and we came back and went there, it was like really awesome. Like it's gotten really cool. You know, one of my big regrets is I never got to go to Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida. I used to see that advertised, filmed at Nickelodeon Studios and Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida. I always wanted to go there. I never got to go, and I'll never get to go because now it's like a closed Blue Man Group place. Someone snuck in though. There's a YouTube video. Someone snuck in before it was Blue Man.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's
That's great.
Yeah. But yeah. Logan.
Yeah. All right. So, what really hooks you when you're playing a game? Like when you try a new game or you come back to your favorite game, what is the thing that really captures you usually?
That's a good question, because I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of whittled down to what that is, and that is the main gameplay loop. And usually for a game, the mechanics I like where there's a lot of options, but also steps to things. So a lot of favorite games I like to play are like action games that are like character action games. And it's funny because I would even say my favorite games like Breath of the Wild. It has good mechanics, but I love going back to games that just have a lot of good, combat mechanics.
What is it about Breath of the Wild you like a lot? I'm curious because that's actually a game that I on the Switch kind of stopped playing, and I'm the biggest Zelda fan in the universe. But once the Switch 2 arrives, I'm gonna grab that update and hop back into it.
Yeah. No, that's a good question, because when I first played it, I did not like it. I was like, I don't know what they're trying to do here. And then as I got into it, I kind of realized it is that open world game style that's new now, but somehow Nintendo's been able to give it structure while it still feels very open and free. Mm-hmm. Because it's that idea that you can go to the last boss right then if you want to. Yeah. Or you could go to the 4 different things, but it's like there's structure, but it's very open, and then you can experiment and do things. Now, there are things about it I find annoying. Like, I do think there's some, what I would call slog when it comes to some of the mechanics where the game sometimes feels slower than it needs to. I think that could be an improvement, and you see other open world games that adopt the Breath of the Wild climbing that are faster.
If someone would hack it and make it so my weapons wouldn't break, I hate that so much. And I know what they're trying to do, but like I don't want Zelda to be realistic. I want to go to Hyrule, and I love the idea of like you can kind of explore anywhere, and that it's they don't specifically say the timeline and all that, but that there's references to all the other games. I like all that kind of stuff, but like I really don't give a crap about cooking. Like I really like just sell me some old woman, give me a potion that I can put in a pot that I got from like rescuing cuckoos or something. I don't
I agree with you. I think that is the slog part where they didn't need to go that far in the Zelda. I wanted to lean more to the adventuring. I wanted more the adventuring than the survival. I appreciate what they were going for.
The survival stuff. That's it. Yeah, that's what I don't like.
It didn't need to go that far into that. And so it's funny with Tears of the Kingdom, that one I didn't play through mainly because the graphics, and I'm going to wait for Switch 2. But I am kind of disappointed. That is kind of the same sort of thing where it's more of, it's structured, but hey, you could do whatever you want, but almost too much of a structured, you can do whatever you want, to where I only played through one of the dungeons, and you can kind of make up how you pick up things and move things around, but I wanted to feel more like I was on an adventure. It's almost, I don't know, the new Andor season that came out?
Yep.
It's almost like with Andor season 2. That is well-made filmmaking. Oh my gosh. Well-made, well-acted. But where's the fun? Where's that, the fun thing that got me into it, And that's kind of how I compare that.
It's on the last 3 episodes, or I guess two of the last three with
I thought that
K2SO.
experimental TIE fighter at the beginning was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
I just prefer movies to series, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
still
me too.
awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't want to. Andor is great, but I would prefer it to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours, even 2.5 hours. I don't need a whole season of it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to have a really good series just to like really hook people for that long.
Like I remember,
But I get your point. I get your point, Adam, because yeah, I mean, it's like it is so tense. It is very intense television, and it's fantastic. But it doesn't have like it's very light on the whimsy of a lot of the original Star Trek trilogy or Star Wars trilogy. Oh my god.
Yeah. No, and what George Lucas did very well is how he used the droids as the comic relief. It's almost like there's a way you can separate what allows the film to feel light with what is serious about it. And I think the sequel trilogy did a bad job of that. They didn't really understand it because they made it where the main characters were just making jokes, you know. But the George Lucas had, where the droids were the ones that were the comic relief. And I feel like that's, you know, they could have applied that more into Andor, I think, and take out a lot of the fluff that was dark.
the sequels taught me that I don't like everything Star Wars because I thought literally you could like crap in a box and put Star Wars on it, and then I would like love it, and then I learned that wasn't the case. And I was surprised. I was surprised about that. I teach a Star Wars class, but outside of that, I don't talk about Star Wars a whole lot because I get so passionate about it that I've learned that it's better to just take in what other people say and be like, yeah, that's awesome. But Star Wars for me is like almost like it's different for me than any other like movie or anything because it's been so pivotal in my life, and obviously it's not for everybody. So I just allow people to have their opinions, and I enjoy it myself.
Yeah, it's funny because I wouldn't even say if you're asking me my favorite movies, I would say Aliens, Army of Darkness, and Blade.
Yeah.
Oh, so those are great picks.
Yes. Even though Star Wars, I think, is probably the most influential, you know, but it's just those movies just did so many different interesting things.
I was mentioning it on your show, but like one of the craziest moments in my life was when I was on my interview with this producer I worked for named Fred Roos, and I didn't think I had any chance of getting the job because producing was like the thing I was least interested in and all that. But like his first question to me was, "What's your favorite movie?" And I said Star Wars, and he's like, "Well, did you know that I cast Star Wars?" And I was like, "No." And he told me the whole thing. And actually, what's cool is there was an interview with Harrison Ford and Favreau, and he told the same story and talked about Fred, about how George Lucas didn't want Harrison Ford to be Han Solo, but Fred was like, "Come on, like you gotta have this is Han Solo." And Fred's big thing was casting, so he hired Fred Roos, or Fred Roos hired Harrison Ford to work on he's a carpenter, to work on the door where they were doing auditions. And then George, he's already here. Yeah. And then once you watch Harrison Ford do Han Solo, who are you gonna pick? So anyway, that was a pretty amazing. But I will talk about how much I love Star Wars, but I just don't get into the critical aspect of it because it hasn't gone down good paths for me. So I've learned that about myself.
No, it's interesting to bring that up because sometimes when things bother you, you don't know why, and sometimes it's easy to make that anger if you want. And then I've kind of learned about trying to explore that stuff, and it was interesting to find out. Finding something like Gundam. It was just another fandom that shared similar themes, but allowed me to explore them a little different. And I like mechs, giant robots. So I think that kind of
I don't mind when people don't like it. Like I'm the only one in my wife and my kids love it, but like growing up, my brother and sister didn't really like it. So I don't mind people not liking it. I don't like when they tell me, like, anyway.
Yeah,
it's a whole thing.
Hey,
it's a whole thing.
I get the passion, man.
Yeah.
Because I was collecting the vintage collection action figures, not the vintage ones, but like the new line, they call it the vintage collection. Yeah. And then there was a time where I looked at them and I'm like, I think I'm going to stop. You know, just because, it wasn't the figures, it was how I felt the whole IP, you know, like it just came to a time where I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop and move on. And it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I never thought I would react. I like when I teach my Star Wars class, we only do 1 through 6.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I say it's because of the time. I just say it's because of the time. We just don't have time to do all 9.
Oh, yeah. That's, you know, it's very funny thinking of the episodes, you know, episode 1, 2, and 3 when they first came out, because even like I loved watching them, but even I was kind of like, it's kind of odd. But like for me, being into filmmaking in the future, the way I look at those episode 1, 2, and 3, it's like that was non-Hollywood indie filmmaking with a big budget, and it just never happens. So the movie looks odd because it's the George Lucas filmmaking that doesn't use, you know, a lot of the Hollywood standards or the Hollywood, you know, groups or whatever that. And so I've learned to kind of appreciate that aspect of it, because it's a movie that if it was being paid by a studio, you know, those episodes, the prequels, they would be telling them what to do and what to change, you know.
Yeah.
They're also, like, obviously, objectively, they're high budget movies, but for what they actually accomplished, they were very low budget. Like, they figured out, they cut costs.
The type of technology.
Yeah, they cut costs in a lot of ways. My first class at SC, my partner that I was talking to, he worked at ILM on some of the Terminator stuff, but then episodes 2 and 3. And I about died because I love Star Wars, but he wanted to transition into being a cinematographer, which he is now. But it was really interesting to get his perspective on how visual effects work in the industry, and less even about the prequels, but like when he worked on Transformers, how under the gun they were constantly. Like, you think about this, one of the perspectives I got in the business is like, it's hard for me to like really say like a movie is terrible because there's so many amazing people that work on it. So like Transformers is a movie that everyone craps on, but like the visual effects, like there are some really amazing things about that movie, and so like I don't know, it just gave me a different perspective, because like, anytime you say, oh, this is whatever, then like I would run into someone that like worked on it, you know, and it's like you realize that you really can't say that anymore, because it's you know, it's like telling someone like their food sucks or something. You have to be a little bit more professional about it. But then I also understand, like, everyone should be free to say whatever the hell they want. I don't mind when they don't like stuff. It's just that gave me a different perspective than I even the sequel trilogy, like I you know, kind of being a little bit facetious about it. The next generation, like the generation that grew up with those movies, I'm sure is going to love them. Like they're gonna, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. They're not like lesser Star Wars fans or whatever to me. But like I know, as like being a professor, like the group of folks that grew up with the prequels love the prequels way more than 4, 5, and 6. Like it does have to do a little bit with the age you are in which you when you watch them. I mean, I was a baby. I don't remember it obviously, but I was a baby at Return of the Jedi. Like,
oh, that's cool.
I was in the theater, don't remember it at all, but and I remember growing up watching those movies over and over and over and over again, and they never had, ironically, Return of the Jedi, so I never got to see like episode 6 for years and years, until I finally got the movies, because the Blockbuster, I guess I don't know, they just didn't have episode 6, so I would watch 4 and 5 over and over again and never know what happened. And then when I found out what happened after so many years, I was like, oh my god, that's
awesome.
Yeah, like people in the theater had to wait 3 years. I had to wait like 10.
Wow. So that's cool though.
It's kind of fascinating to hear that, because like I grew up largely when the prequels were a bigger thing, but I wasn't really introduced to them until much later in life because they had been out of theaters by the time that I was watching Star Wars. So I started with the original trilogy because that's what we had at home, and yeah, that's the one that I tend to prefer.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's just kind of interesting, that psychology, like what you grow up really sticks with you, and it just kind of is embedded into your media consumption taste.
I tend to like them kind of equally, which I know is blasphemy, but I do. But
I think
they have their
I'm
merit
just a big
in
fan
context
of like, the pacing of the original, but I like both.
one thing, like the sequels, I don't understand why the lightsaber fighting. Like I get in 4, 5, and 6 why the lightsaber fighting couldn't quite be, what the prequels was, but like hire Nick Gillard, like he perfected Jedi fighting, and even if you're gonna slow it down or change it, like you have a guy that like invented basically what Jedi fighting is, and instead you have like. I don't want to insult like the people, but it feels like Rey and Kylo Ren are fighting with like baseball bats, and it's like
there's so many aspects that you know what? I was actually shocked with the Acolyte. I loved the lightsaber combat.
That was pretty. It's
combat,
probably
I've seen some of the scenes from that, and they look fantastic.
Wasn't a huge fan of that show, but I did the lightsaber combat. I liked when it hit the helmets. I thought that was a cool thing. We hadn't seen that. Seen that
I
before.
know. So
I think they pulled that from like Legends and brought it into canon.
There's so many cool things from Legends. I've read all those flipping Star Wars books. I would love. I want to see XR Kun, like XR Kun. Where are you at? Like AdamBlue and I both love Blue. Obviously, he had the blue double-bladed lightsaber. I mean, how cool is that?
Did you read the Plagueis novel?
Yes. Yeah. I did.
That is so good.
I would love to see. I guess it happens at the beginning of the book, so it's not really a spoiler. But like Palpatine murdering his entire family, showing how he became evil. That would be.
I know that, and I think that was the original plan when George Lucas had that book written, because it was more material for Disney to have when they would buy. And one of the plans was doing a Plagueis.
There's that, and then 7, 8, and 9 were supposed to be about the origins of the Force. 7, 8, and 9, the original, it was like the Skywalker grandchildren discovering like the journey of the Journal of the Wills and like the actual origins of the Force and like the all that kind of cool stuff. Instead of Palpatine returning after he was anyway.
And I love that imagery, by the way. Just the execution of the story to have that happen. It goes to your point about the people working on it are awesome. But the story that they had to put together, because Palpatine being on this like robotic arm that he was like, I loved that imagery.
And I love Palpatine. I like when I saw Palpatine was back, I was like, okay, that makes no sense. However, I love Ian McDiarmid and I love him as Palpatine. So like as much as it doesn't, I mean, it was kind of fun to see him back, but like, she's been a Jedi for like 5 minutes, and all of a sudden she's like defeating Darth Sidious, who like freaking Yoda couldn't. I mean, come on, like,
there was no build up to anything because they were changing.
1,000 years of practice doesn't match Rey.
Oh, wow, that's pretty well done.
Or 900 years. 900 years.
Speaking of games, Star Wars games.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys play Outlaws? I really liked it.
I played about, I don't know, 10 hours. I got to the first, well, no, I was still on the first real planet you're on. I didn't get off of it, but I enjoyed it. I was waiting for some of the bug fixes to come through before I went back to it.
That's what I did. I waited in, I think it was November or maybe end of October when they came out with that, and it really improved it so much. Like
with GTA 6 getting pushed, I think that I'm going to come back to that probably once I get done with Doom.
Yeah, because I like that as a Star Wars game, but I could not get into the Jedi Survivor games. Fallen Order.
I really enjoyed those.
I really want to, I'm going to try them again because Darria, who's out tonight, but Darria sings their praises all the time, and I do love Star Wars. I mean, even if they made an episode 10, I'd be like their opening night for sure.
I would say though,
go ahead, Adam.
This the Star Wars Jedi games, I feel like it was this fundamentally at a gameplay level that it fell apart, and kind of fusing what Star Wars is, because it didn't seem like there was times where you would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, some of the areas in the first one, you would be like going into this area no one's been to, you're tunneling in, and then you come to an area with a platform in the middle of nowhere and there's stormtroopers on it. And it's like, how and why did they get in? And I know that seems like a weird thing, but I think it's because it's that Star Wars storytelling I want from the game, where that I had trouble being convinced, where Outlaws, like, really. And you know what? Normally, I don't care about story in video games, to be honest. So, because I know you guys are talking about the JRPGs.
I can go either way. I can like really love story in games, and then also like I love shmups, who it's like kill the aliens. So like I can go either way. I can. It depends on what the game is. That like if it's a story driven game, like the story's good, I'll love the story. If it's an action driven game and it's all about the action, and there's a whole thing about that getting into like the flow state, right? Like getting into that state where you're not thinking about the buttons that you're pushing, and you're just in the game, and you like become a part of that gameplay. Like that you don't necessarily need an amazing, engrossing story to get into that. And so like you have games that, I mean, I think Control does both really well. I think Control has absolutely fabulous gameplay, but also has a really engrossing, interesting story. So I think you can do both. I think it's difficult.
And I think it's a personal problem of mine. I have trouble playing games where they're just really just story. Like you're talking about with Final Fantasy having to go through some cutscenes. Yeah, there are games where like even Doom sometimes was giving me cutscenes. And I was like, what? And then I just skipped.
Let me shoot you.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I will say, like, for instance, Halo. I would always want to watch the cutscenes because Halo did a good job of making the story just as important as the game you were playing.
I think Halo's story is underrated. I think, and funny for me to say that of all people, but I think in Master Chief is an underrated protagonist. I think he's a understated, subtle protagonist, but I think that and they developed him well. At least up through Reach.
You're right, because I think the problem with the show was not using that way to have this interesting avatar of a character that you could put yourself on, and you're seeing him go through the stuff that they pulled off in the games. But in the show, that could be a good show, like if you don't know Halo, maybe. You know what I mean? Because it had like good action scenes.
Jack, I've never asked you, did you like the Halo show?
I watched the first season and I was just kind of like, it's good. Like you're hitting the right beats, but it's like, I could really use like the Master Chief character is just not, the John character is just not quite what you're going to that for.
See, I watched a very small amount of it and I just have no desire to go back.
Yeah, the action was fine. Like the story's fine, but like I just is just not the right tone out of the main character.
And that's one of the things I miss a lot of the time with game movies. I feel like the Super Mario Brothers movie hit the Mario tone pretty well. I hope Zelda does. It's similar. And it's live action though, so that's be harder.
I know. What do you any thoughts on that? The live action Zelda. I'm excited.
I think it's gonna be exciting, but I think it's gonna be tough. Just
it's gonna be a lot harder to pull off than Mario. However, they've got a lot of resources. Mario was so successful that they're not gonna have a hard time getting people anyone they want to work on it.
Oh yeah.
So that it's gonna have everything that it can have going for it. But they're gonna they need to simplify the story. I think it needs to be like linked to the past and before, or even start with like the original Zelda. Like if they try to make Skyward Sword the movie, I just will scream.
There shouldn't be a lot of like lore it's having to go through as
I wonder.
I think they should do. I'm sorry, Logan. Let me just. The Legend of Zelda, like the original Legend of Zelda. You start with Link. He goes in the cave. He gets the sword, and you really like follow him on the journey and there's you kind of figure things out as you go. Logan, I cut you off. I'm sorry, man. What were you saying?
I wonder if they're going to try to do like some kind of alternate timeline. I know there's already timeline stuff with Zelda, but like kind of create like a new origin to sort of simplify it for the movies and taking a lot of inspiration from the games.
That timeline is kind of interesting. Like at first I was like, that is so dumb, but then when you look at it, and the idea that in Ocarina of Time, right, that he goes back into becoming Child Link, and then he becomes depressed because he did all this stuff, and no one knows that he was the hero of time, and all that happens. That's interesting, and then like how it splits off in that way is actually kind of interesting. Obviously retconned, but
yeah.
I've liked that stuff.
I think it's cool that it's retconned though, because of like the time travel shenanigans that go on.
Oh, I like it.
It's fun to just have like lore that's like out of time at this point. It's just
I mentioned this before, but I want a Zelda game in the art style of the manual from The Legend of Zelda for the NES. I love it, or even Adventure of Link, or even Link to the Past. To be honest, they all kind of were similar, but I love the art in the original Legend of Zelda manual.
I think they tried to do that with the Link's Awakening remake. I feel like it came off too much like Clay instead of.
It's not quite there, but I do think that they tried. They tried a little bit with Between Worlds, I think too. But
that was the first one.
I would love. I have the Legend of Zelda art book or whatever they released a few years ago, and it has really, really high quality versions of basically all the art from beginning of to end, and I just like the stuff really up until Ocarina of Time, all of it is really, really good. I just feel like I don't know. Zelda. Okay, we're talking about Zelda here. Zelda is one of my favorite series of all time. I love Zelda. Twilight Princess I liked okay, but playing it, I was kind of like, it felt forced to me a little bit, and I've never really felt that about a Zelda game. I loved Wind Waker a lot. And then Skyward Sword, I remember playing I was at the presentation at E3 where like the Wiimotes didn't work or anything. I was like, I think I was like second row, like Miyamoto was like above me, like waggling and it not waggling for him. And then I'm playing it that year at E3, Skyward Sword. I just remember being like, I am not interested in this. And that's weird for me, because I usually like am super stoked for Zelda. And I've tried playing it again recently, and I'm just not that interested. So I would love, and then Breath of the Wild again, I would love a Zelda game to come out, or maybe the movie, and just really recapture that for me, because it's not that I don't love Zelda, because I'm replaying Ocarina of Time. It's awesome. I've replayed original Legend of Zelda. I replayed Zelda 2 several years ago. Loved it. Link to the Past, ridiculously good. Even Twilight Princess, I could probably play again. But Skyward Sword and onward, it lost me.
Yeah, I think what it's interesting. I feel like I liked Twilight Princess, but when you say it feels forced, I feel like that's because it's almost like they just tried to make the Zelda that they think people wanted because Wind Waker graphics, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's
Wind Waker was great.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, after all that, after the Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, it was where the new Zeldas would do something kind of big and different. But we kind of want just a journey to go, or an adventure to go on, because when we had the NES one, Link's Awakening on Game Boy, Link to the Past and SNES, they are kind of similar in more of a structure, where I feel like even Ocarina was still similar in that way, where the gimmicks got in the way of the adventuring. Yeah. And Skyward Sword, I think, was a good example of that, especially the sky area at first and how that kind of worked, and I think maybe they got it back with Breath of the Wild, in my opinion. But again, the survival part takes away from the adventuring.
Well, I'm gonna check it out again. I want to show you guys a video really quick. It's like really awful quality because it's from 100,000 years ago. Oh, did it?
I
Here,
see this pop up. I don't know.
I see the OBS pop up.
I'll place it. I'll place it better. I'll go into to studio mode. But talk amongst yourselves for a second.
No, but so with but what's the new one again? I totally forgot. Tears of the Kingdom.
The latest Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah.
That one, I'm really looking forward to actually playing through for real and with the on the Switch too with the upgrade graphics. Did you guys happen to beat it?
I actually haven't played any of the Zelda games yet because I didn't have any Nintendo consoles and didn't have the time to get into like Breath of the Wild or Tears. So actually, like, do you have a recommendation for any of the ones on the Switch? Because I do have a Switch.
I would
like
just
to try it.
Play Breath of the Wild because it kind of has the standard Zelda to it. Just with, you know what? And what's interesting is some of the survival elements are just kind of similar to Minecraft.
Yeah,
what
I do like
Minecraft kind of brought
games.
to the table.
Yeah. I will. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, so I feel like you were just talking about Minecraft before.
Yeah.
It kind of has that sort of element to it, which I think a lot of games are picking up anyway. Nowadays.
And I'll just echo that. Yeah, Breath of the Wild. I will recommend Link's Awakening as well as the Crypt of the Necrodancer little mini side story.
Link to the Past is mine.
Okay.
Or the original Legend of Zelda. No, it's.
And it's funny because they're both different games, which is something else to consider. One's one's like a third-person open world survival, and the other one is a more traditional like action RPG.
Yeah, I'm aware of the gameplay split. Like some people describe it as like open world Zelda versus you know the more traditional Zelda, and that's why I was curious if you guys had a preferred starting point.
All right, I want to show you. I want to show you all this real quick. So this is the original Zelda 64 trailer, where they did it with the NES style manual graphics. It's potato quality because this is like 96.
Yeah, I remember seeing this.
I do not remember this.
But like
one of those on the VHS tapes that Nintendo would send out.
Yeah, it was, and then it was also on like the internet in like 1995, 96, and like I think that's where that video comes from, in super potato quality. But I would love a game again in that exact art. It's never gonna happen, but
I know what you mean though, because his latest outfit's super detailed.
Yeah,
it's crazy how detailed it is.
Say let's get one of those PS1 era demakes, like a la Crow Country or something like that.
I don't need it. Interesting. I don't need it to look. I don't need it to look like old, but the art style. I would like.
Yeah.
I would like the art
like
style.
Stylized that way, but not like old.
You want your Studio Ghibli style Zelda.
Not even Studio Ghibli. I want them to take the art, because if you look at the artwork in the manual, it's a little more detailed than Ghibli. And like I just want them to take that art style, and I want them to make, and they won't, but I would like them to do that.
I feel like there's a lot of things Nintendo could do and would if they were any other company.
Yeah.
But instead,
they
actually
F-Zero, Pilot Wings.
They tend to do innovative things, though. So it's like that's
they're stubborn, which is why we love them too, because there haven't been like 1,000 awful F-Zero games. We only have the ones that were really good. Because we could have Star Fox, like Star Fox, Ice Climbers.
Hey, I've
been about 40 years.
I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I did not like Metroid Dread.
Oh,
was that the one on Switch?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one on Switch. I liked that one.
I love Metroid. I didn't really like it either. I didn't like the scary thing that comes after you.
Yeah. The I can't remember what they're called, but the Emmys, like those are like those little sequences were really frustrating, and I could see why that would turn somebody off.
It turned me on. It made it like I don't want Metroid to be survival horror. Like make a different game survival horror.
Aspect. I think another aspect of it was it felt more like they were just trying to make a Metroidvania rather than and maybe this could be me too personally, like the feeling when I played Super Metroid the first time, like this whole expansive world, like, oh my gosh, where am I? What am I doing?
That style of game was, I think, perfected with Super Metroid and has never quite been. I've never played a Metroidvania. I mean, well, Symphony of the Night. I would say Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night are the two.
Dawn of Sorrow.
Dawn of Sorrow. I would even say Portrait of Ruin. Yes. That's my personal favorite. I played through every single one of those games. From the end of 2023 through the end of 2024. And some of them multiple times. Harmony of Dissonance, I played through 3 times.
See, Harmony is the one that always, like, it looks really good compared to, like, Circle of the Moon, but I'm a big fan of Castlevania music, and
I know what you mean.
Harmony of Dissonance is, like, bottom tier.
That's why I played it, because I like Castlevania so much. I was like, I need to embed myself into the worst of... And that's one of those where it's considered, you know.
Yeah.
Castlevania 64 is where it's at.
Oh yeah, that was. I never beat it though. Never.
I was joking. I don't like that game.
It's an interesting take on doing 3D.
I like the PS2 ones better than I like 64.
Yeah, those are better.
Yeah. I wanted to. Repetitive, but. We're getting close. We're getting a little close to the end of our. Yeah. I just wanted to. We talked about this a little bit on our stream, but I just find it interesting. So, how did you rediscover us? I just think that's an interesting story. How you watched us way in the archaic, Jurassic times.
No, it's interesting. I think it's just the algorithm on YouTube. Like as soon as you guys started, it showed up for me because the YouTube algorithm does tend to try to show me video game podcast content because I'm always looking for stuff because I don't find a lot of good ones and I don't want to actually make it sound bad like they're bad ones, but I like this kind where it's like this excited conversational, very positive. We're not like constantly talking about stuff we hate, and so it's interesting that then this got pushed to me and I was like, that's the thing. When I saw the logo, it like unlocked a memory. I'm like, wait a minute.
I know these guys.
Yeah, it just all came flooding back. It was crazy. And it's like one of those things where I think it was meant to be is at a time where as a YouTuber, I'm trying to grow my status back up, doing the morning show that I do every morning.
Yes. We should mention that too. You should all for sure check out Gundam Explain and BlueGamer, which is actually AdamBlue, I believe, is the handle on it because I linked to it.
Yeah, it is the handle. Yeah.
So make sure you check it. I try to catch your morning show. It's a nice. It's been a nice time period where I can kind of watch it a little bit while I'm was getting prepped for different things. And it's a nice time.
Point. Because I would find that while I'm working. What's a podcast, a gaming podcast I can listen to? Mm-hmm. And I wasn't finding what I was wanting every morning. And I was like, let me do that. Let me make that morning show that I want. Yeah. So
that's the way to do it. Yeah. No, it's good. I'm weirdly enough, I also haven't found too many podcasts I like. I mean, My Life in Gaming's stream is pretty close to a podcast. That's really good. I like Retro RGBs is pretty good. I like, and then I used to really love Retronauts with Jeremy Parrish, and then Retro Force Go with Chad Conselmo on Destructoid. I loved that podcast. And then we had him on the show a few times on Padinga. And then he ended up switching over from journalism to he worked in PR for Nintendo and then became head of PR for Nintendo, and then now he's at Square Enix.
Oh wow!
But yeah, it was a pretty cool journey. He was like the biggest Nintendo fan ever. He likes Final Fantasy more, but besides that, like he was always talking about Nintendo in a super positive way. And one day, as he tells it, he got this call, and it's like basically like, "Hey, this is Nintendo. We'd like you to come work for us." He's like, "Come on, like, who is this?" Like, like he thought it was a joke. But no, it ended up being, and he like absolutely. So he was with Nintendo up until Rebirth, because he took the director and high-ranking folks of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth out to In-N-Out Burger. He was like so jealous.
Wow.
That's awesome.
But it is coming for the end of the night. Mr. Burton, is there anything you'd like to say before we head off into the sunset?
Man, I just want to say having kids is great. My son brought all of his instruments home. He's playing percussion. He brought all of his instruments home because it's the end of the school year, and literally just he's just messing around on his xylophone. And I was just like, hey, you know what? That gives me an idea. So I go into the I go on my phone. I look something up and I started playing a little melody. He's like, I know this. And I'm like, yeah, you do. And I started playing it a few more times, and he's like, how do you know this? I'm like, well, I got the sheet music for it. I said, do you like it? And he goes, yes. And so next thing I know, I print out this copy of the Game Over music from Legend of Zelda, the original. And I'm like, here you go. And he goes, oh, I knew it. No, the Game Over theme.
Oh, doom. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
and like playing it on the bells, like even Kelly came down, was just like,
That's
I know that
cool.
song. Why is Gabe playing that? And I'm like,
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's like I got him hooked. Yes.
You know what's funny? I couldn't tell where you were going with that story, the way you started it. I couldn't tell if it was going to be a happy ending or a sad ending. And I was engaged throughout the entire story because I didn't know.
I was very, very pleased. And
That's
like when I
awesome.
woke up the next morning, he's sitting down there practicing again. I'm like, yep.
That's
I got
pretty
him.
bad. Nice. And Logan.
Nothing major this week. Although I have to say, I went and saw the Thunderbolts movie recently, and that was pretty good.
Nice.
How did you like it?
I thought it was solid. Like, definitely best MCU movie in years.
I still need to go see it, man.
Yeah,
It's worth it. That made me actually pretty excited about Marvel again, which I was surprised about.
I'm excited for X-Men.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
X-Men. And Adam, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow I'll be streaming on the Gundam Explain show. If you guys want to talk about it. It's actually the 200th episode of the Gundam Explain show. So yeah,
Everybody
there's
check it out.
celebration. Yeah, we
It's
have
your
a guest
assignment.
on there. Yeah.
There'll be a test.
And yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. This was a lot of fun to have you. This is a really awesome conversation. I think because you've so much podcast experience, we were able to have a really organic and really fun conversation. So thank you so much for your time this evening and joining us. And Nintendo, if you're out there, would love an invite. Just saying. Been besties since 1986. But
You can will it into existence. Don't worry.
I'm gonna try. But I'll see you same time next week on the game show.